Hey guys, it's Allie with Chaos Monkey, and I am going to do a finish video, or show and tell, or whatever you want to call it, and I pretty much just call it finishes, whips, future projects type of thing. I have some finishes I want to show you, and then I have a couple of whips, which is works in progress, and kind of some futures, so I'll go ahead and show you what I've got. So one of the first things I'm doing is a pair of socks, and these socks are for me, and I do them 2 at a time, toe up with the Judy's Magic cast on, and on size 0 high-highs. So far the high-highs are making me happy. If you'll notice, I'm bending them, but I've used these needles a long time, so over time they tend to bend. I have some Addy Turbos in 0s, and those suckers bend way easier and sooner, so I'm not so happy with the Addies, but the Haya-Hayas, so I'm going to get another set of these, just as a quick needle review. If you're interested in doing a magic loop, I would go with a Haya-Haya, because the cord is really flexible and doesn't get in your way, and the needles are pretty resistant to bending over time. So this is in, I want to say biscotti. You guys can tell me if I'm pronouncing it right. Here's the tag, and this is an old tag. I think they've completely revamped everything since then. I actually bought this yarn in 2016, somewhere in there. So I say biscotti yarns, and they're French, so I don't know if it's biscotte or just biscotti, because I think of the biscotti, you know, the thing you put in your, dip in your coffee, the cookie thing. And I had to look online because they didn't, back in the day, they did not put the colorway name on the tag. So this one's called Princess. And one thing I did notice is that in the current Princess, it has all the same colors, but the inside, the small stripe is red. So it actually goes yellow, blue with red striping. So it's pretty much, I remembered it was called Princess or Superhero, I couldn't remember which one. So I'm pretty sure this was Princess, and they've just changed it a little bit. So, but it is on the website. They have a ton of self-striping yarn. It is on the more spindy side, but it is self-striping, and that takes a lot more work, so keep that in mind. And they have increased their prices since I bought it way back, too. So, you know, inflation and all that stuff. So I'm pretty much just working through stash because I have some old sock yarns. Again, that is 2016. This has been sitting in there. So one of my goals for the year was to clean up get all my old sock yarn done. So one of my goals, if we go over goals real quick, let's go over goals while I knit. Oh, and I just did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which there is a pattern for. It's only $1 if you guys are interested in the pattern. The Fish Lips tends to fit me pretty good, and it's easy to do. It's a short row heel, without having to do a heel flap gusset, because I hate that. And then on the front, I'm just doing a knit 2 purl 2 rib, but I'm not doing it on the back, just to give it some more stretch. The yarn itself is very soft, very smooth, but I have noticed it pills a lot. So I'm very hard on my socks, and because the yarn is so soft, it pills a lot when I use it. And it is 85% superwash, 15% nylon, and 400 meters, 435 yards, so any of the other specs you want. But again, biscottiyarns.com. If you're interested, they have a lot of self-striping, more than I'd seen before when I went back on there to check this colorway. But this colorway was called Princess and the 7 Stitches, I think. So, yeah. So I actually have a really weird old version of the striping that is different than the current one they have out. And my goals were going to be pretty loose this year. I didn't want to overdo it because, you know, I have a chronic illness, blah blah blah, and I can't really stick hardcore to a goals list without kind of stressing myself out. So I have, let me see, I wrote them down somewhere. Oh, there they are. So I want to do 2 sweaters this year, but I need yarn, and that could be knit, that could be crochet. I do both, so I do have 2 knit sweaters in my two that I would probably like to do first. One is Find Your Fade sweater. And I bought the shawl pattern when it was really popular. Remember when everybody was making a Find Your Fade with 7 skeins of like yarn and hand-dyed yarn no less, so you can imagine how expensive that shawl was in the end. But I ended up never making it because I think at that point I just didn't have the yarn available. I didn't have a huge stash of hand-dyed at that point. So I kind of put it on the back burner, and then the sweater came out, and I was like, ooh, I want to do the sweater. And it takes 7 skeins of hand-dyed, so I am, oops, no, I'm good. I am waiting to get the yarn. I think, I was trying to get like a package, because they do sell them in like kits on Knit Picks, but the lowest price I could get so far was like $78 for 7 skeins, which is still really good. But we're kind of tight on money, so I didn't see myself spending that much money on sock yarn or on hand-dyed. So I think I'm probably just going to end up dyeing my own yarn. But I do have to buy the bare yarn, the blank yarn, because I don't have any at the moment. So I need to buy like 7 or 8 skeins of bare yarn and then dye up my own. Because also I didn't really like any of the color palettes they had on Knit Picks. The one I picked was like a blue and brown palette, and I wasn't really very happy with it to do the sweater with, because the point is to fade one color into the next, and you really have to mix up those colors to see the fade. Anyway, 2 sweaters, get back to the goals. 12 pairs of socks. So this is my socks for January. I'm going to try to do a pair of socks every month because I slacked off, and I do want to use up some of my sock yarn that I've had in stash and get her done and make more socks for me, because I make mostly socks for my boyfriend, and it would be nice just to have some more socks. I don't like washing them because we have a ton of hand knit socks. I'm telling you, we have tons. I think he still has more than me though, so I don't like having to hand wash them, but I do like wearing them. So I wanted to make 6 18-inch doll clothes, like outfits. So either a piece, like just a sweater, or an outfit. I would count that as just 6 pieces. And let's see, what else did I want? Oh, and then just to do 3 dolls or stuffies, because I do enjoy doing the stuffies. Knit or crochet for all of that, it doesn't matter. Whatever pattern I like, I do. So those are pretty much my goals. They're really loose craft goals. There are some things I want to do, like I want to do sewing, things like that, but I need a sewing machine, you know. Stuff that you kind of just put off because you know it's going to end up costing money, because you need the machine, then you need the accessories, and then you need fabric and all of that stuff. So I'm not going to completely plan around it, but I definitely want to see if I can get a sewing machine. I did buy one last year, but it was a refurb off of Amazon, and half the stitches didn't work. When you had like a 4-step buttonhole, and like half the buttonhole didn't work. So they refurbed it, but I don't think they tested all the stitches on it. Plus it ran a little rough. I can't remember which brand I bought, but it was a decent brand and it shouldn't have felt like that running. But then again, I haven't actually used a sewing machine since junior high, so it just didn't feel right on top of having the buttonhole issue, so I returned it. So eventually, and that one was, I got a good deal on it, but again, refurb, get what you pay for, I guess. So yeah, I would like to do some sewing, if I can get all of the stuff to do so. I would really like to get into sewing. I'm not saying I'd like do it to make a living or anything, but I would definitely do it just to have fun, and maybe make a few bags the way I want to make a bag, and maybe for some gifts, and then maybe I actually want to try to, because you know I knit and crochet doll clothes for 18-inch dolls, I probably would want to sew a few outfits as well. I think that would be really fun. And not take a lot of fabric, you know. It'd be also probably be really good practice for big garments too. If I get really good at the little doll garments, it would probably help give me some confidence to do some bigger garments. But anyways, so yeah, I'm almost halfway through these socks, I want to say. I am going to make these with a long cuff because I want to use up as much of the sock yarn as possible. So I'm probably going to just do a really long cuff and minimize my leftovers on these for me. Because I do enjoy doing shorty socks, but then you end up having to do 2 pairs to kind of use up your yarn. But I have noticed I do tend to fall out of my shorties if I am wearing them in shoes, of course. So if I do shorties in the future, I'm probably going to do shorties with a much longer cuff. Just to keep them on my feet. On my bony feet. Okay. So anyway, you can see that's the stripe repeat. There's the heel. I did do a little adjustment. When I finished the heel and came back, the color stripes weren't going to line up. So I did end up cutting it and restarting it in a good spot. So if you're wondering how I got it perfect on the front without doing an afterthought heel, that's how. I just snipped the yarn and restarted it. It wasn't that much yarn I was going to lose. I was like maybe 4 or 5 inches to get it to start in the right spot so that I wouldn't have, otherwise I would have had like half a yellow and then it would have gone right back into red the way it was kind of lining up. So I just cut out a piece and cut it right back to normal. So the stripes are good without having to do an afterthought. You can tweak with them, really you can. Oh, and then my bag is from, where's my bag? Bellarica. And this was actually a gift. Jenna from Southern Skeins Sock Yarn, Southern Skeins Company. I always want to say Southern Skeins Sock Yarn. Jenna actually gifted this to me. So it has little sweaters on it. And it has like a really silky inside, because I guess technically it's a makeup bag. But this lining works well for yarn because it doesn't get caught on the cotton lining, which I really like. If you guys know me, I like the slippery liner for my bags. And if you want to see it caked, that's how crazy it looks. And so yeah, this reminds me of a circus a little bit. I don't know, more than it does a princess, but it's called Princess. So I'm going to go ahead and put that away and then just pull out my other finishes. Okie dokie. So I did some mittens. Let me go up a little bit for you guys. These are bulky mittens in Lion Brand Woolies. It was in a sparkly. If you can see the sparkle, I can't tell on my viewfinder because it does not focus. But you can see the sparkles. It is I think it's called Celebration, is the yarn. And the pattern is by, crap, who's it by? It's not by crap. It's by Make and Do Crew. That's it. And it's the 3-hour chunky crochet mittens. And let me fold down a cuff here. Hope you don't see any of my ends. And here it is. Now the yarn is not this color. The yarn is in off-white. And what happened was I had 2 skeins left over from other projects, and I just grabbed one, worked it up into a mitten, grabbed the other one, worked it up into a mitten, and then realized they were different dye lots. So one mitten was a white cream, and the other mitten was a yellow cream. And you could see the difference. So then I decided to dye them. So I went ahead and dyed them an ombre. So as you can see, here is like a bluish into the pinkish into the dark pink for the ombre. And really weird, some of the yarn really sucked up the dye. Like there's spots like that for some reason. It's crazy. Just a couple here and there. But here they are. And I was testing out the pattern. I hadn't made it before. And I thought it would be a really fun pattern to make. And it is pretty quick. Let me try one on here for you. Let me fold these up. And as you can see, here it is on. You just fold the cuff. And you can see the ombre effect. Tell me if you guys like that. I was kind of experimenting and I was a little worried because it wasn't really coming out the way I wanted it to, because this bulky, it is a wool, but it really was taking the dye kind of weird. And this is with food coloring. This isn't with an actual yarn dye. I have both, but I decided to kind of just go with the food coloring to see if I could get maybe a gentler ombre, because I was afraid if I used my regular dyes, there was a chance that I would get too harsh of a line. Because this takes so long to absorb, because when you dip it, the yarn is so thick that you have to dip it several times, more than you would for a normal ombre if you're kind of doing a drop ombre. I don't even know if that's what that's called, but you know what I mean. Usually when you ombre something, you dip it, pull it out, dip it, pull it out, and each time you're re-dipping the first part, it gets darker while the rest of it is lighter. And it's hard to do with this bulky because it got heavy when the water hit, and when it soaked it up, it like was done. It would not take any more color past a certain point. So I kind of had to ombre it up to here with the pink purple, and it was more of a purple, but it broke into this pink like right away into the bulky. So I was like, okay, it's going to be pink more than purple, but I did get some purple, so it's almost like a mauve color. But then I stopped about here and then dumped the purple because I knew it wasn't gonna get soaked in anymore. And I did dip the whole mitt, but then I stopped and mixed up some blue and then did it cuff down to try to get the ombre effect, because otherwise it was just not going to work. So if you're going to try to ombre a thick yarn like this, number one, probably use real dyes, real yarn dyes. It might work better than the food coloring, but number two, just be careful that it's going to pick it up kind of crazy. It's going to break and it's going to pick it up weird, and it's going to get saturated very, very fast, because there was very little time to work. Like I said, I keep dipping and keep dipping and keep dipping, and this wasn't really getting any darker. It kind of stopped. It had a stopping point really quickly. So anybody who dyes, you get what I mean. So yeah, so then I started dipping into the blue to try to make sure we at least had a purple over the pink situation. So it did take up some more of the blue at the end of the cuff to at least give it an ombre. It wasn't quite what I was going for, but I really, really like the result. It's one of those things where you kind of just accident and it looks good, you know? So I'm really glad I didn't ruin them, because then I'd be sad. So I really like them. I really like how they came out. I probably would not ombre the same way in the future with this yarn and this pattern because of the bulky. I would probably try to do it a little differently, maybe get more of a defined ombre, but I still really enjoy how they turned out. Overall, it was good. It was good. So there we go. And then I did finish my squares, and I know some of you guys were probably waiting to see my last squares. So my last two squares were for November, December. I'll show you those first, and then we'll kind of do a quick review. So here's November. And I didn't do any sparkle on November. You know how I'm trying to get a little sparkle in each square? Well, it's kind of not working out for a few of them, so I'm just kind of leaving it. But him, I did do more of a textured yarn, more like a, what do I want to call that? I want to say it's kind of a variegate, but it's not. It's more like a stonewash kind of look in the browns. And so that's the November. And then here's the December. And all I did with the December block was Jada did hers with red and green was the border. I reversed it because one of my squares already has a red circle in the middle. It's an apple, and I didn't want two squares to have big red sparkles in the middle. So that's why I reversed it. My stars I sewed on, but they were, oh my gosh, you guys, I had such a hard time with these stars. I had to redo them a couple of times because they were so wonky once I sewed them down, but I'm done. I'm like not fiddling, like I'm already trying to fiddle. And then the snowflake was pretty easy, it wasn't too painful. And so that's December, so we'll go ahead and just kind of run through them in order so you guys can see them all. So here's January. Let me see if I can go up just a smidge. January, whoops, February, March, April, and I'm still not sure about these eyes. They kind of stick up really high. So April may get new eyes, I'm not sure. May, And that's a little sparkly butterfly. June. I'm pretty sure this is July. I did add the sun. I wasn't sure about this square because I didn't like the background brown, but I couldn't really find one better in stash. So I just threw the sun on and I'm going to leave it. August is the camper. September, this was the apple I was talking about, why I didn't want to have two squares with the big red sparkle center, because it would distract you. October, this, I would think I was going to try to change the mouth, but then it kind of grew on me, so I don't know if I'll change that one or not. And then November, and then December. So the squares are officially done. I just have to decide, if you've heard my previous gripes, my squares did come out smaller than Jada's. Well, by the way, this is the Jada and Stitches 2017 calendar blanket. And I finally finished it. And finished the squares anyway. It's not finished. But my squares came out smaller than Jada's, and so I was thinking about maybe putting an extra border on before I attach them. So right now I'm still deciding. I'm deciding if I want to do another round of the white before attaching, and then do the border around it, or if I want to do like a unifying border around each, like in a darker color, and then do the border. Either way, I'm definitely going to make this a little bigger before attaching, and then, I don't know, from that point on. So I have some decisions to make. So I'm happy I finished the squares, but another goal for the end of this year is to finish the blanket. Because you know how it is, if we put this into the corner somewhere, we're going to totally forget about it. And we're going to find the squares a year from now, or 2 years from now, and go, yay, I should really put those together. So I'm happy I'm done with the squares, but I have to make sure I keep this out or I'll see it. Otherwise it'll never get finished. Okay, and I think... Oh, I wanted to show you... I did put this on Instagram, but I did make a little scooty with pom-poms. This pattern was by Pamela's Adoring Crochet. She has, I think that's her channel name. I think her website is under a different name. But anyway, she designs 18-inch doll crochet clothes, and so I did make this out of a skein of yarn I had in stash. Ooh, I still need to weave in some ends in there. But this was, if you sign up for her newsletter, she will give you a free pattern every month. So this one is the, I think the January. Sorry you guys, let me brighten that up just a smidge. The January free pattern. So I just wanted to show you, it makes really long. And this is out of a bulky yarn. This yarn was actually a Craftsy yarn. What is their Craftsy acrylic? Crap, I can't remember the name. Nope, can't remember it, but it was, I have a couple balls of that in stash, so I made it out of the brown, and her pattern does not have pom-poms this big, just an FYI. I made huge pom-poms because I wanted, number one, I thought it would be adorable, and it is. And number two, I wanted to use the whole skein because it's a pretty small skein. So I used the whole thing. It starts with an S. What the heck is that Craftsy acrylic called? Oh, I'm sorry, Blueprint acrylic. I can't remember. So, I just wanted to show you guys, it's super cute. Super cute. So you pretty much just put it on and then you can wrap it around and do whatever. So I made that. And then also, I showed this elephant last time. This is an elephant. I believe it's called Amigurumi Elephant, Crochet Elephant by Old Soul Crochet. And I made it, and it has the little flannel that I showed before on the hands and the feet. And, hold on. This is just coming out so dark, you guys. Hold on while I fiddle. That's better. But I did change the eyes, because remember the eyes were bothering me. And so what I did was I just removed the white and redid the white in a cuter position. And then I threaded it through, triple knotted it, pulled it back into the eye so that the white wouldn't come off, of course. Because all I did before was snip it out, and because I knotted it the first time, you just snip it out. But you can tell now, I don't have a before picture. I was thinking maybe I should have taken a before. But if you see the other video, the white was set a little too far back, and it made him look like he was staring at you, like when I put him across the room to sit him up. Because sometimes I do that. I work on something, put it down, or put it across the room until I decide if I really like it or not, if I make any changes. You just kind of have a break. And his eyes just kept bothering me. So I couldn't tell it was because of the size or it was because of the way I positioned the shine. And it was basically just the shine. And so I moved the shine forward. So the first time I had it positioned to where it looked like he was staring. This time it looks like he's happy. So if you can see just a difference that positioning the eye can make. So, and that counts for like if you're using like the clip-in eyes, the little snap-in eyes, the plastic ones. Always test out a few spots before you clip them in because it can really make a difference, the positioning. And this one, it wasn't so much the positioning as it was the shine. The shine really changed it. So now it looks like he's smiling and he's super cute now. So now I'm happy. So I just wanted to clear that up for everybody who thought I was crazy and was too picky about the eyes or whatever's, that I did fix it. I am happy with it now.